Greetings, one and all, and welcome to the first, and hopefully not the last, questions and answers video, hosted by yours truly. I'm sure that many of you have been itching to hear what answers I have in store for the questions that I have received. Aren't you? Fear not. I know your questions have been lying around for quite some time, even with the network still on hiatus. While everyone is enjoying their little vacation, I have been hard at work. Regardless, let's get started, shall we? The first question comes from one of our veiled anonymous askers, who has asked what may be the elephant in the room as a start. Will letting you in cause harm? If you were to let me in with your permission, you won't be harmed, I assure you. You may feel some discomfort, such as a headache and strained eyes, but those would be the least of your worries. Mild dizziness and drowsiness can also come into play, so think carefully on the decision if you already feel tired at the time of my request. All of these symptoms can depend on how well you adapt to the sudden mental invasion. These effects may be more than mild if you have poor health, however. Again, think carefully before answering. However, if I were to be forceful, the least you would experience is a shortness of breath and out-of-body experiences. Think of it like an invisible hand strangling you to no end. You would be subject to a waking nightmare, your mind believing that you are trapped in a dark domain with no exit, while your body has remained exactly as it were before, unmoving and completely at the mercy of my own control. Unless you have an inkling of how it feels to dwell in the endless abyss, surrounded by thick air and a constant ringing in your ears, you may be caught completely unaware. If the tinnitus doesn't drive you insane, watching yourself act against your will would certainly do the trick. The next question comes from Wild Horse Wolf. Hey Doc, sorry if this offends you, but do you like books? If so, what's your favorite? You're gonna have to answer this if you don't want to buy. No offense is taken by your question. Calm yourself. Although I advise you practice a little punctuation when writing your question for next time. I thoroughly enjoy books, with a range of both fiction and non-fiction. Literature is a medium of art in its own right that has been appreciated for many centuries, and rightfully so. Simply laying my fingers on the pages and turning them, trailing along the length of its spine, glazing my sight along each printed word. It's always a delight when I have the chance to indulge in fruitful information or an enthralling story. If I were to choose a favorite book, just one in particular, I would have to decide on The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a classic, which has been retold in films and music, as well as referenced many times in art, animations, and even some other creative works in the modern era. If you are unfamiliar with the story, it's about a man who has created a potion that separates his positive, good-natured self from his other half, constituting the opposite values he possesses. This darker side of him, named Hyde. Hyde eventually becomes his own being. His own personality and impulses come to life. Jekyll realizes that the metamorphosis effects were becoming stronger and more frequent, giving Hyde a wider window of opportunity to take over Jekyll Jekyll runs out of the potion and fears that there would be no way for him to continue his fight against Hyde, and resorts to suicide to end the battle, once and for all. Quite a tale, isn't it? Reading has a way of stimulating the mind, no doubt about it. Not only do I find intrigue in a well-written story with unique characters and a driven plot, there's no substitute to the vast array of written works in the medical fields of psychology and mental health. What surprises me to this day is that there is always something new to discover from those subjects. Perhaps, dare I say, it is due to the broadened awareness of mental illnesses and conditions that humans seem to fall under, especially those who are considered young of age. I swear, I don't know if I should be excited by these discoveries, or concerned that it's making my job easier. An excellent question, young one. Now, on to the third question, which comes from a loner. Dark, as a bit of a devoted follower of yours, I've often considered doing some kind of sacrificial or otherwise offering to you. Do you have a preference for what kind of offerings you would receive? Performing sacrifices in my name, you say? How very generous of you to suggest this. From what I understand, offerings, sacrificial or not, are generally meant to be used in rituals to entities, spirits, angels, demons, and even gods that belong to a certain religion or ancient culture. I've rarely seen this being done in your modern world, however. Perhaps this sort of tradition is dying out. Sad, don't you think? Regardless, if you or anyone else is willing to make a faithful offering to me, I won't stop you. I don't accept gifts. I have stated this a long while ago. But if you truly put effort into it, then I suppose I would be lenient to accept your offering. You may give me messages, literature, flora, food, drink, charms, blood, and even bladed weapons. If you wish to offer yourself to me, well, that may be a different kind of offering altogether. Wouldn't you agree? I have 2 more questions to go, and they both come from veiled askers. So let's go over the first one of the 2, which says, So, I have a question for both Dark and Auntie. Auntie's not here right now. If you guys are your creators' polar opposites, does that mean your taste in women changes? Like instead of a girl who's short and petite, she's a bit bigger around and taller? You are only half correct with your assumption, Veiled One. Yes, I am a polar opposite, but that doesn't mean my preferences with females are completely different from Mark's. As a matter of fact, I would say my perspective on the opposite gender has broadened, not switched. Don't assume, however, that I would decline outings with other males, or those who belong to a non-binary gender. Anyone is fair game as long as they have a free mind of their own. Why should I limit my victims to just one category altogether? So many options would be laid to waste if that were the case. Besides, I don't much care for aesthetics, nor do I have any complaints over a person's BMI. If someone is acceptably presentable, then fair play to them. They have a gifted advantage with beauty. It's just another factor I take into consideration when it comes to examining someone's personality and history. And now, we reach the final question. Strangely, this question was sent directly to my muse, so I will address this on her behalf. Question for Darkiplier. Also, you would be the first person I have posted a question to. I love your voice acting for him. You can thank my muse for that. Regardless, the question is simple. Morality. What is it? Is it a definable subject? How do you view morality and the consequences it has on the mind? Morality. I do believe that it is a definable subject. However, to answer what morality is would involve knowing how we see morality in our own perspectives. From what we understand, morality is the mental perspective of what's right and what's wrong. It can be easily shaped by what we are fundamentally taught from every possible influence we have been exposed to, including family and friends. The media, especially in this modern era, also provides information that has a strong connection on the concept of morality in practice. In my perspective, morality can often get in the way of certain matters. What I believe to be right and wrong may go against what you have been taught, respectively. Others are inclined to agree and disagree, and I am aware that some are bold enough to attempt to change someone's views on a certain topic. However, we must also consider the consequences behind everything we do and say. You know the saying, actions speak louder than words, correct? I believe that words can be just as impactful if you know what to say. Any action or spoken word taken in the wrong context can lead to an argument or even a fight. So I highly advise that you look before you leap, and think before you speak. It may save you a lifetime of grief. Consequences on the mind when it comes to morality can be different for everyone. Emotions and sensations such as guilt, anxiety, and depression are the most common among many others that you would experience. Recovery from these is subjective. You either try to get yourself back up from whatever weighs you down, or suffer further to the point where it becomes an imprint and affects your mental health. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. I hope my answers have somewhat enlightened you and sated your curiosity. But now, I must go and attend to more pressing matters. Don't worry, I won't be gone for long. I am a busy man, but I always find time to address your queries. I will see you all next time.